Good afternoon. Today is March 4th, and the time is 12:34. And this is the inaugural meeting of the City of Seattle's new Economic and Forecast Council. And this meeting will come to order. Again, good afternoon. My name is Ben Noble, and I am the recently appointed director of the new Office of Economic and Revenue Forecast, which serves in support of the Forecast Council. We're joined today or will be soon joined by the fourth member. We are joined currently by three members of the four-member Forecast Council. That includes Council President Deborah Juarez, City Council President Deborah Juarez, City Council Budget Chair Teresa Mosqueda, Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha Harrell, and shortly we will be joined by City's Finance Director Glenn Lee. As I noted just moments ago, this is the first meeting of this group, and today the Forecast Council will be moving through some logistical issues, just setting up some basic governance, and then move on to a couple of briefings and an adoption, ideally, of the Forecast Office work program. There'll also be a selection of a chair and potentially a vice chair, but until the chair is selected, I am going to essentially MC, if you will, the meeting and coordinate the council's actions. And the first action that we need is to adopt today's agenda. I am going to share my screen and put up that agenda. And then, excuse me once. Share my screen. Here is that agenda. And if one of the forecast members would move and potentially another second, we could put the agenda into play.
Director Noble, I move to have the Forecast Council adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. This would be the time to consider, and then let me just describe the agenda briefly. Introductory comments, as I mentioned, discussion of bylaws. I will then present, and ideally you will adopt the work program for 2022 for the Forecast Office. And then finally, we have a presentation describing where the city's revenues finished in 2021 and in comparing those both to our forecasts and to previous levels. So are there any potential amendments to this agenda? Hearing none, if there are no objections, today's agenda will be adopted. And hearing no objections, the agenda is adopted. And I will stop sharing my screen. And move on. So the first item is introductory comments, and I'm going to turn this over to Central Staff Acting Director Ali Panucci in just a moment. I wanted to say just a couple things. In particular, I wanted to introduce my colleague Jan Duras. He and I are currently the Forecast Office, the two of us. Small but mighty, I like to think. As I will discuss, working with the work program, there's a third staff person who we will hire in the coming months. But with that, let me turn this over to Ali for some comments and then potentially to the Forecast Council members as well.
Thank you, Director Noble. Good morning or good afternoon, members of the Forecast Council. I'm Ali Panucci of the City Council Central Staff. I'm just going to provide a very brief background on how this Forecast Council and the office came to be, and then we'll turn it back to Director Noble. So just a little history. On July 19th, 2021, the Council unanimously passed Ordinance 126395, establishing this new Office of Economic and Revenue Forecasts that is independent of the executive and legislative branches of city government. The enabling legislation developed after many months of working with subject matter experts in the City Budget Office, Department of Finance and Administrative Services, and central staff created the legislation created this body, the Forecast Council, established the process for approval of the city's official forecast, and established the duties and functions of the new Forecast Office. The bylaws that will be before you today are very much in line with the enabling legislation and the intent, the policy intent that the council discussed when creating this new office. The goal of creating this new office was really to increase transparency in the forecasting process and create a level playing field between both branches of the government. This also provides an opportunity to enhance some of the city's work related to forecasts and other economic analysis, which you'll see some of today in a more detailed report on the year-end actuals comparison to the 2021 forecast. And it also creates consistency with some of our other local government entities such as King County and the state of Washington that both have independent offices who develop their forecasts. And then overall, this just ensures that both branches are working from a common starting place and in line with the city's race and social justice initiative. There is an emphasis on providing greater transparency and access to information regarding the city's budget decisions. And this is one step towards providing greater transparency into how forecasts are developed and what it means as the mayor and the council make decisions about how to allocate city resources. And with that, unless there are questions for me, I'll turn it back to Director Noble.
Thank you, Director Panucci. Any introductory comments from members of the Forecast Council? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. Oh, I apologize. Councilmember Mosqueda.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much, Director Noble, and welcome to you and to your team. Very excited about the creation of this independent city forecast office, and I'm really excited that I was able to have a role along with Council President Juarez, who's on the council with us on behalf of the City Council. I also am really thankful for the work that you've done, Mr. I was going to say chair, but our host, Director Noble, thank you very much for the work that you've done in the past. And I'm excited to be able to be participating in this forum and this council with the executive and the senior deputy mayor, along with our new director of the city budgets office, Julie Dingley. It's been a real pleasure to be able to work with the two of you already in our short time on this year, 2022. And I'm thrilled that we're going to be able to have the opportunity to jointly partner with the separate branches of government through this council and the independent office of the city's finance and revenue department. I just want to thank as well Council President Gonzalez from the past and her staff member, Cody Ryder, who were very helpful with working with our central staff, and who you just heard from as well, Interim Director Ali Panucci, throughout last year as we created this independent council. And I want to thank Tom Meixel and Esther Handy as well for helping to get this new office off the ground along with your team, Director Noble. Thanks again for all of the work that you have put into this effort, and I look forward to the news today and then quarterly throughout this year. I think it's going to be a really great asset to our city and to the residents.
Well, thank you for the kind words related to me. I'm very much looking forward and have been enjoying the new role over the past couple months. Not seeing others looking to comment, I'm going to move on to walk you through the bylaws. What you'll see, and it'll become more apparent as we walk through the bylaws, I think it's going to make sense. I'll walk through the bylaws. I think the council then probably makes sense for you to appoint a chair, to then adopt the bylaws, and then to appoint, if you're interested, a vice chair. The appointment of the chair is set out in the ordinance. It doesn't only come from the bylaws, so it makes sense to appoint the chair and then to do the bylaws. So, having described that sort of process, let me actually put up the bylaws and walk you through. So we have worked. I'm going to do my screen again and pick the right item here. So here are those proposed bylaws. These were drafted in consultation with both.
I just want to double check for the viewing public. I don't actually see a screen being shared, and perhaps it's being shared on Seattle channel, but I just wanted to double check in case that's something you wanted to project.
I don't see it either, and didn't say anything thinking that it might be a broadcast trick.
And I printed it out, old school.
Let me try to share this a different way. And how about that?
That is good.
Cool. Live and learn, one hopes in any case. So I can share this way as well. It's a little, all good, bottom line. So here are the proposed bylaws. Again, developed in consultation with central staff, with the executive, with the law department. They're really quite simple. The ordinance really set out a great deal, but there were a few points that I thought were worth clarifying. So let me again walk you through these. I've highlighted a couple points. So first, the bylaws set out the purpose, and I thought actually Director Panucci did a good job sort of describing that. So the forecast council provides an independent source for the forecasts, and you're essentially overseeing the work of the forecast office. The membership of the forecast council has been established in the ordinance. It is the mayor or his or her designees. So in this case, Senior Deputy Mayor Manisha Harrell, the Director of Finance, Glenn Lee. I just received a text. Glenn is on the line and listening. The council president or her designee, but we have the council president, and the chair of the city council finance committee or her designee, and obviously council member Mosqueda is present. Then and there's some additional clarity about if there's overlapping roles. The SMC itself calls out that there will be a chair and it will be served annually. We've in the bylaws here, and I've highlighted it, suggested that you might want to select a vice chair as well. Two thoughts about that. One, it would provide an opportunity to have someone run the meetings if the chair is not available. It might also provide a basis for a selection of a chair in the future. That would be obviously up to you, but so that is an addition in the bylaws that was not in the ordinance. This next section, the identification of designees, this is also not in the ordinance, but what it calls out is that if there are going to be designees identified, that be done at least 24 hours in advance of the meetings. Senior Deputy Mayor Harrell's role was so communicated. The notion here was just that there isn't a last minute switch that would confuse folks. But again, it was really just a clarification and transparency element. The quorum requirements are actually largely set out by state law. So the Forecast Council is subject to the OPMA, the Open Public Meetings Act. And you need a majority of members for there to be a quorum. In this case, that is 3. You could increase that requirement, but as you'll see, I don't think that's necessary. There was always concern about maintaining balance between executive and legislative branches, but as you'll see, for key decisions, there is always a need for 3 votes, so that there's always a requirement of significant participation. So again, 3 members are required. Meeting, the bylaws are clarifying that there'll be 4 regular meetings, and regular meeting is a term of art under the Open Public Meeting Act. You can have additional meetings. Notice requirements on special meetings are slightly different and not worth a whole lot of discussion here. But we're anticipating 4 meetings, essentially 1 each quarter. 3 of those, and I'll show this in the work programs, 3 of those will be associated with revenue forecasts. The 4th meeting would be the beginning of the year. We'll provide an economic update and then do things like approve the work program for the year. So this meeting is probably a little bit later than we will normally have the first meeting, probably have it in January or maybe early February. But so again, the meetings are set out and they've actually, well, later in today's discussions, I'll show you the full calendar for meetings. So those are the meetings. Executive sessions, again, the Forecast Council is subject to the Open Public Meetings Act. There are criteria under which you may meet in executive session, clarifying here that if you invoke executive session, that a member of the city's attorney's office can be available to sit in. Again, and this is consistent with the protocols for the city council around open public meetings. Decision making, I wanted to highlight the ordinance itself specifies that a majority of 3 members are needed for important votes. And again, just to follow the logic here, that's an important distinction because technically not technically, 3 members constitute a quorum, but a majority of that quorum, so 2 votes, would not be sufficient to do several things that are called out here. It's going to require 3 votes to do big things. Perhaps interestingly, one thing that doesn't necessarily require a vote is actually the adoption of the forecast. The way the ordinance is structured, the forecast office will provide you a recommendation with regard to the forecast. That's what's described here. So we'll present and make a recommendation for the April, August, and November forecast. And then if there are disagreements about that recommendation, you may vote and essentially, if you will, override. That will take three votes to do that. This was a way to, again, to try to maintain this balance and to have a neutral and independent source for the forecast. The one piece that we did add on the advice of law is that it likely means you won't regularly vote, because we will bring you a recommendation, and if things go well, you will concur with that recommendation. So, and there's no need to vote then. What we will request then is that the chair note in the meeting minutes that you have assented, if you will, to that forecast. So a little bit more detail there, but just so you understand. And then, as I noted, the ordinance itself specifies that you need a 3-person majority to appoint the director. There was such a vote in late December. And then the work program, which is up to date, will also require a 3-person vote. Other than that, again, as specified here, you could have 2 affirmative votes for other official actions. I don't think there are any other important ones, at least not at this stage. And again, the bylaws could be amended if necessary. And then the last component of the bylaws is just to clarify, and again, that'll be helpful for you, to clarify what we in the forecast office are responsible for sharing. Again, transparency being an important goal of the forecast, council and the forecast office. So all meeting materials will be posted, and they have been. All the forecasts, both the economic forecast and the revenue forecast, and I'll talk about the distinction, those will go up. Quarterly reports, so we're going to give you a presentation today, and we're going to follow up the next week or two with a written report that will describe in sort of more detail some of that. And then any other work that we do that is presented here to the Forecast Council. So that is those are the bylaws. I'm going to stop sharing. It's hard for me to see you all this way. And as I indicated, I think the best way for you all to proceed now, before you would take on the bylaws themselves, is to select a chair. And as you concur, that it would be an appropriate time for there to be a nomination from the floor for the chair of the Forecast Council.
I would like to make a nomination. I move to nominate Council Member Teresa Mosqueda to serve as the chair of the Forecast Council. Let me know if this is the appropriate time to give my thoughts. Can I give my thoughts, or?
I think we might need a second, and then I'll come back to you for your thoughts.
I'm trying to join your procedural world. I'm going to learn, Council President. I don't know when you tell me when I jump in.
And truthfully, Council President, and much better at this than I. We need a second. That is my only request.
Second.
Nomination has been made and a second is on the floor. So I think it'd be appropriate for Senior Deputy Mayor Harrell to speak to this nomination.
It's all you go.
I just thank you. I'm going to learn. You're gonna get it. I just want to say it has been a real pleasure working with Councilmember Mosqueda in and around budget issues. She has been really open to including the new administration, even in the discussions prior to our taking office. I look forward to her leadership here and the collaborative nature, the collaborative relationship we've really built together. I think that this is a great opportunity to be able to serve under her leadership on this council, and I really look forward to the upcoming year.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none.
Say thank you for the nomination. I'd be happy to serve.
Seeing none, I think it's appropriate to call for the vote. I think it's going to be a challenge to get Glenn's vote, but I also think that there are potentially 3 votes here and that not necessary. So I'm going to call Council President Juarez on the nomination of Councilmember Mosqueda to be chair.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I.
Senior Deputy
Not
Mayor
as easy as it looks, is it? Is it?
No, I never said it was. Just wait, I have a punchline to this in one moment. Senior Deputy Mayor Harrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Mosqueda.
Aye.
Again, with that, we have 3 affirmative votes, which is sufficient, and we now have a chair for the Forecast Council. And it is my pleasure to turn this over to the chair so this meeting can be run by someone who has these skills better than I. So, Councilmember Mosqueda.
Well, thank you, colleagues. Thank you
and
very
Forecast
much.
Forecast Council Chair, I should say as well. And
Thank you
via text, Glenn affirms as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the unanimous vote, colleagues. It's a pleasure to be able to work with you on this newly formed Revenue and Forecast Council. Thank you for the very kind words, Senior Deputy Mayor Harold. It's wonderful to have your support, and really, I really appreciate the Council President's support as well. It has been a real exciting moment to be able to see this Forecast Council come to fruition. And again, I want to thank the folks who made this possible. So thank you very much, Director Noble, John, and to the CBO office as well, Julie Dingley in this role and your previous role as well, and to our central staff. So I'm thrilled to be able to be here. And as I mentioned before, I think that this independent economic revenue forecast and this body, our oversight body here today, is really going to help us with deep collaboration across the branches of government and create additional transparency for the public and broader policy making as we move forward to address the city's most pressing needs via the budget and the revenue that comes to us. I also want to thank Sejal Parikh, Chief of Staff in my office, who really was instrumental throughout the last 2 years in helping to provide support and thoughts behind pulling this together, along with Interim Director Ali Panucci. With that, I would like to revisit the question that was brought up by Director Ben Noble about a vice chair. I very much appreciate that suggestion. And while it wasn't in the initial ordinance, I think it's a great addition to the bylaws that have been crafted in front of us. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about any questions that folks have about the bylaws. But before we did that, I would be very interested in adding a vice chair to this role. And if she is willing to serve, I would very much like to nominate Monisha Harrell. Is there Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha Harrell? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Council President. I'll very briefly speak to the nomination here today. And I see a smile, so I'm hoping that that means she's willing to serve as vice chair here for the Forecast Council. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure to be able to work with Senior Deputy Mayor Hill. Over the past few months, we've had a number of issues we've already had to tackle together, and I really have appreciated her leadership, her hardworking, collaborative style. She's authentic in wanting to have a deep engagement and discussion with council. And as we tackle the challenges that lay in front of us in overcoming the economic impact of COVID, I know we're in good hands with her and her team, and look forward to working with her in this role as well on the Forecast Council. So I would very much like to nominate Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha Harrell to serve as Vice Chair. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, wonderful. I'm not seeing any. If there is any additional comments, big now. Hearing none. All of those in favor, I think I'm just going to go with the all those in favor approach versus calling on names, if that sounds okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Any abstention?
No.
It is unanimous, Senior Deputy Mayor. Would you like to say a few words?
I would only like to say that I think that the creation of this council and the creation of the forecasting body was really smart legislation. I'm proud to join you all in the work that you've already started, and am looking forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you very much, and thanks for serving, Madam Vice Chair. Okay, colleagues, I think we can go ahead and move on to the discussion. Is there any additional discussion about the bylaws as presented by Director Noble? Hearing none, I did just want to say thanks again to Director Noble, to your team, and I believe the role that central staff and any support from CBO has provided in helping to establish these bylaws I think they also offer us a little bit of flexibility as well if we need to come back and adjust for anything as we stand up the Forecast Council. I'll also offer this. Thanks very much to Director Noble and to Director Dingley. In addition to the presentation that we will receive quarterly from the Forecast Council, both the City Budgets Office and this body that is led by Director Noble with the Economic and Revenue Forecast Office, they will then, after our quarterly presentations, have the opportunity to come to the Finance and Housing Committee meetings in the same month, immediately the meeting following our Forecast Council. They have both offered to come and provide an overview of what is discussed and voted on in our Forecast Council, and that'll also give us a chance to hear from the City Budgets Office about how implementation is going with existing revenue. Specifically this year, I know there's a lot of interest in the implementation of the American Rescue Plan, and as we will discuss later today, I know there's going to be ongoing interest in the returns from the Jumpstart Seattle payroll tax, and so that'll be a chance for us to have a presentation in the Forecast Council meetings, vote at the Forecast Council, and then in the subsequent Finance Committee meeting, really have a deep dive and look holistically at revenue and spending. So I want to thank them for that, and I think it will be a nice rounding out of the information. And as Director Noble said, if their office is working on a summary report after those presentations, it'll give us another chance to have a look back at that information. Thanks for that. Anything else, Director Noble? I see you off mute.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Great. Thanks so much, colleagues. I move to approve the bylaws that have been presented by Director Noble. Is there a second?
Second. You can second too stuff, Deputy Mayor, so so you know. It's not all on me.
All right. I'm gonna jump in. It's gonna be like double Dutch. We're gonna do it.
I like this. It's been moved and doubly seconded. Any additional comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye for accepting the bylaws as presented. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Wonderful. It is unanimous. Congratulations, Director Noble, and to your team. You have provided us with a solid foundation for the bylaws, and we look forward to building on those with you. We're going to go ahead and move on into item number 3 on the agenda. This is a presentation of the 2022 work program for the Office of Economic and Revenue Forecast. We're going to have a discussion and possible vote on the work program that has been presented, and thanks to the Office of Economic and Revenue Forecast, it has been posted to their website as well. Director Noble, I'll hand the microphone back to you, even though you're not in the chair role. You're going to have a lot of airtime today, so thanks for walking us through all the materials you've prepared for us.
Pleasure. So yeah, I'm going to share screen again and put up a PowerPoint that describes the work program. I hope I get the right one here. That is not the right one. Give me one sec. Okay, just give me one. Minor issues. I'm going to be on this shortly. There we go. You all see now? I can go into appropriate mode here.
Looks good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the affirmation. So, as described, 2022 work program, and really this presentation is the work program, if you will, and you'll see as I go through what I mean by that. So, we've already had this background, but again, the purpose of the Forecast Council and of the Forecast Office describe staff, myself, Jan, and as I mentioned, we have a third position that we'll be hiring to shortly. I'll say a little more about that in a minute. Again, on background, one of the things to understand is that the Forecast Office, our forecasting purview covers these major revenue streams, but not all of the revenue streams into the city. These are really the ones that are most dependent on the economic forecast and on the broader economy. So they are the sales tax, the B&O tax, the payroll expense tax, real estate excise tax, private utilities, and admissions tax. You can read this list as well. We will be working closely with the Budget Office and conferring with them with regard to other revenue sources. And in particular, they will be dependent on us for the economic forecast. And again, I will describe some more of this shortly, to do some of their additional forecast work. And as you'll see today, we'll be reporting in our quarterly reports, we'll be reporting on all the city general fund revenues, and some selected others as well, not just those that we forecast, so that you really have an overall perspective as we give you the summary of what our actual revenues have been received. Essentially thought about that there are really three key components to the work program for 2022. The first of which, and has been occupying candidly much of my time over the past couple months, is getting this all set up. So, for instance, we've been working closely with the Department of Human Resources to classify and describe the new position, our third position, which will be an analyst to support the forecasting and presentation work. We just got our approved Strategic Advisor 1 classification for that position earlier this week, and we're going to move to start the hiring, the posting, and then the hiring process in the next couple of weeks, and then expect to hire in that April-May time, late April, mid-May timeframe if all goes well. We've worked out some logistics with FAS and HR around basic support for our office. As mentioned, we have a website up and online. I can show you that as well before we leave, but I know that City Council has established some links there as well, and that is, again, where we've been posting materials. We developed some bylaws that you just saw, and then we're working on some data sharing agreements. This is actually a really important point for us. There is information that is helpful in doing the forecast that is available from state agencies, also actually from within the city, data that is of a proprietary nature. It is firm-specific information about revenues and employment and the like, and that's, we need, in order to have access to that information, we need to essentially pledge that we won't be sharing it inappropriately, and there's some significant logistics in that, so working on those. So that's one body of work, kind of getting things set up, and we're well into this, but not completely done. And then the forecast work, and that is really obviously the bulk of the office's function. And I do want to highlight that there are really two sets of forecasts that we'll be doing all year and at each stage. One is economic forecast, and the other is the revenue forecast. And as the timing just suggests here, we do the economic forecast first, and that's because its outputs are projections of what regional employment will be in the future, what regional income will be in the future. So key variables for the region, underlying economic variables, what inflation is likely to be. And the output from those models are then input into a second stage of analyses that are the revenue forecast, where given past patterns and what we know from previous experience, if income is expected to grow this way and unemployment is expected to develop as we forecast, what are the revenues for the city going to be? In particular, the sales tax, B&O, those major sources. So we'll be producing an economic forecast. Again, it's described here, late March, early April, that will then feed into the revenue forecast. We will be providing the results of the economic forecast, and there'll be three. There'll be, again, per the ordinance, a pessimistic forecast, a baseline forecast, and an optimistic forecast. We'll be providing that to you and to the budget office at the same time, again, a little bit before the revenue forecast. And the reason for that is so that the budget office can have that as an input to do their own parts of the forecasting work. Again, it'll still be your decision as to which of the underlying forecasts we use. That'll keep us all on pace to develop the underlying revenue forecast for the budget. So we'll do that, as you can see here, in April. That'll be the first revenue forecast. That'll be the one that the budget office uses in its initial work over the course of the year. We'll then provide one in the first week of August. Again, these are all consistent with the ordinance. And that revenue forecast is the one that will underlie the mayor's proposed budget. And then we'll provide an update late October that will be delivered November 2nd, which is the day after Election Day this year. And that'll be potential revisions that will inform the City Council's final decision as it completes its budget deliberations. And then the last component of the work program is potential policy research. So the ordinance anticipated that, just to name names, that myself and Jan and our new hire could support the collective of the executive and the legislative branch in examining some potential policy changes, or in a deliberative process context, potentially support the legislative department or the executive for some period of time in developing some potential policy proposals and help researching those. As is noted here, for this year, there's potential to work with both branches in response to the Council's statement of legislative intent, which called for a joint effort to help address the financial challenges for 2023, including potentially new progressive revenues. So at the moment, candidly, we don't have a whole lot of capacity for this additional policy work. We'll be busy for the next month developing the April forecasts and completing the report that you'll see today. But going forward, look forward to further consultation with the members of the Forecast Council and with staff on both sides to determine the appropriate role and what assistance we can provide. So those, again, are the three key elements. I did also want to talk about what we'll be physically producing as part of our work program. So one are those regional forecasts I just described. Again, pessimistic, baseline, and optimistic. In the past, we've done that 3 times, or the Budget Office had done that 3 times a year, once for each of the forecasts, proposing that not this year, but starting in next, we would do it 4 times. And so we would run a model again in January, and we wouldn't develop a full revenue forecast from that economic run, but we would be able to give an update to you all about what we're seeing in terms of potential developments in the economy, and also inform the Budget Office for things like inflation projections that are important for their work. We would then, our work products will include the revenue forecast as described, quarterly updates. You'll receive the first of those, perhaps what will be ultimately the most interesting one, because this will be the year end, the fourth quarter one, where you see all of 2021. We'll then provide updates as well, though, for the for the first, second, and third quarters as well. I would note that those quarterly updates will come at some notable delay. The way the tax payments work is that typically first quarter tax obligations aren't due until a month after. So March, for instance, the quarterly payments for the quarter that ends in March aren't due until the end of April. We then need some time to do the analysis, so that would be sometime. So it's sometime in May. So just to point out that there's a delay in those reports. And then the other thing that we have been and will continue to distribute are monthly summaries, so that our sales tax revenues, although the city helps set part of the rate, the monies are collected by the state and then distributed to the cities and counties across the state. And we get that distribution once a month. It's with a 2-month lag. But in some ways, it's the most timely measure of what's going on. So we thought it very important to share those out as we receive them. And we've done that now twice over, and we'll continue to do that as well. So those are the work products. And then this calendar is essentially a summary of the work program. It shows you in the first row the forecast, the economic forecasting of the regional model that we're going to do. It shows you the revenue forecast that we will develop in the calendar for those. It shows you those quarterly reports. I was just highlighting the delay. And then it also shows you the schedule of forecast council meetings with the note that this year that first meeting didn't happen in January. It's happening now here in March, but do anticipate that going forward we'll do it in January or perhaps early February. So that is the proposed work program that we have developed, and I certainly welcome any questions and happy to answer them, and then ideally and humbly hope that you will be willing to adopt that.
Thank you very much, Director Noble. Colleagues, are there any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Let me just ask one very quick question, and this is our sub for the Forecast Council. It's nap time almost. Just a clarification on the work program. If members ask for additional protections, say for, additional projections, say for looking at different revenue options, does the work program allow for the council, for you and your staff, to go ahead and develop that analysis? I know you said staffing is an issue right now, but at some point in the future, we have flexibility so that any branch could ask for additional support if you have capacity.
Absolutely, yeah, and we would want to work with you to help ensure that if there was any concern about it, there was balance in the way that we provided that support. But that is the goal. again, particularly, well, obviously around revenue issues, but yes.
Great. Additional questions? Okay, I am not seeing any additional questions. Excuse me, sorry, Director Dingley, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that this is going to be our first time through this schedule. And so we, with experience, as we kind of go through these motions, we might need to revisit this schedule in the future, but it certainly seems like a great plan, but just wanted to note that it's our first time through.
Oh, and much appreciating that note. Well, I worked this out in theory. We will hopefully be able to follow through in practice. But as things develop, yeah, my goal will be to be flexible to meet everyone's needs.
Really appreciate that flexibility. I know from us and from central staff, as we were looking at various options, as we were considering Jumpstart, for example, having an entity like yours to be able to do some planning, projecting out in addition to our team at central staff would have been great. And I'm very thankful for central staff, but also know that they have a million other things on their plate as well. So having an entire office devoted to this topic is really critical. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. Thanks again for your offer to come and present after those 3 dates that you noted in the PowerPoint presentation at the Finance Committee. That'll give members of the public, for all of the community watching, that'll give you another chance as well to understand the information. And as Director Noble said, this council isn't looking at every revenue stream. So with the combination between Director Noble and then also Director Dingley, we'll have a chance to look at the full revenue scope and some of the expense updates. All right. Hearing no additional comments or questions, I move to adopt and approve the 2022 Office of Economic and Revenue Forecast Work Program as presented by Director Noble. Is there a second?
Second.
There you go.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Vice Chair. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. I saw a hand from the council president as well. So that is 3 ayes. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Wonderful. The motion carries and the work program is adopted for 2022. Thank you again.
And thank you.
Wonderful. A final item on the agenda is a presentation from Director Noble and John Duras on the 2021 actuals. Director Noble, I'm going to turn it back over to you. And John, welcome again. If you want to introduce yourself for the record, that would be wonderful. And we'll go through a presentation on the final 2021 year-end revenue actual returns. John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jan Duras. I'm a senior economist at this newly created Office of Economic and Revenue Forecast, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Jan. And I will turn it back over to Director Noble.
Thank you. Give me just a moment here. I'm working to unmute.
I will filibuster in the moment.
Yes, thank you.
You know, Vice Chair, I can't call you Vice Chair anymore. It just feels so weird. So I'm going to keep going back to Senior Deputy Mayor, and I'm going to stick with the Council President when I call you on you all. But I appreciate you stepping up in these roles, and it doesn't come off the tongue. So I'm going to go back.
I'm going to call her Vice Chair. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying Vice Chairwoman. You're always free to second stuff.
Glenn.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, I've been with you the whole time. I concur with all your votes. Thank you very much. I apologize. I'm at a family event in Southern California that I have to attend. So I'm with you.
You're coming through loud and clear, so we're glad you're on the line, and thank you for expressing your support for those votes and also being with us here today. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Glenn, as Director Noble's teeing up the presentation?
And I'm good to go whenever we are.
Go for it.
I'm good, and I really appreciate this entity and what it can do for the city. I think it's actually something that we will highlight in our presentations to the rating agencies when we sell our bonds, that we do have a stable process for managing this part of our fiscal affairs. And I think it's all in all a big win for the city. And I know the rating agencies will think well of it as well. So thank you very much, Chairwoman Mosqueda.
Thank you very much, Director Lee. All right, Director Noble, we'll hand it back over to you.
Great. And I'm going to put up another PowerPoint presentation. Before I do, let me just say a little bit about, so we're going to give you a summary of where 2021 revenues finished, if you will, of our final accounting. We're going to compare that to the forecasts that were made in November, so you have a sense of relative to our forecast, where did we end up. We're also going to do a comparison to 2019, give you some sense where we stand relative to the pre-pandemic levels, so that's some sense of recovery. I just want just a little bit about the accounting processes that underlie this and help explain the why we're here now versus other times of the year. So although obviously 2021 ended 2 months ago, 2 months plus ago, the way the city's revenues work is that there are tax obligations from activities in November and December that actually are not paid into the city until January and February. So we wait for those payments because they're really about 2021 activities. And the accounting phrase is that we accrue them. So we accrue them back into 2021. That accrual process is teed to the last day of February, so February 28th. So it was really on Monday that the books closed. And there was then a scramble, is not the right word, but some tense work to make sure we allocate things appropriately between 21 and 22. So that's why the timing of this, and these are really fresh numbers, if you will. So a couple places you'll see me say things like, well, we're going to spend more time analyzing what's happened here, because that's the nature of where we stand. So with that background, I'm going to jump in again, share my screen, and walk through with Jan's help as well, presentation on the 2021 revenues. Go to the full screen version of this. You all can see this, I'm hoping, and I'm thinking so. So I'm going to move forward. So again, I've already described this. We're also, one thing I didn't mention perhaps is Jan has some information and insight into just some general economic trends since November. So, and since the last time we developed a forecast. Then we'll provide some context then for the numbers that you're going to see. Again, the outline here, we're going to start with the general fund. And I'm going to show you overall picture, compare that to the November forecasts, also compare it to 2019. Then I'm also going to take time to look at four specific non-general fund revenues. So these monies don't go technically into what's called the general fund being the pot of money, if you will, that supports the most basic government activities. These other, the four ones that we've selected, are significant sources. They have targeted uses. But they're ones of interest, and I think ones worth highlighting. And we can discuss further with you and with staff whether there are other ones that you would want that kind of detail on. Our written report will provide additional detail, and we'll also be able to provide even yet further detail to staff on both sides. And then last point, again, as I mentioned, is an update on national and regional economy. So without further ado, I'm going to dive in. And I set this up so that we're leading with the lead, if you will, rather than burying the lead. So this is a graph, a table, that chart, I guess is really what it is, to show you where the 2021 general fund revenues finished, and to compare those both to recent years and to the forecast. So let me start first with the first point, comparing them to recent years. So again, this is total general fund revenue. What you see is that from 2018 to 2019, we'd been on a period of growth. The pandemic hit, and we saw a notable decline in general fund revenues, a decline that would have been larger but for federal assistance as well. And then looking into 2021, you'll see that we took in a very significant increase in revenues in 2021. The difference of more than $350 million between the two. However, it's important to recognize that the largest piece of that was the new payroll tax. And I say that only in the sense of understanding, to what degree have we recovered from the pandemic? Well, we have not recovered, if you will, the $350 million plus revenue from our normal base. What's driving the real growth in revenue we saw in 2021 is very much the payroll tax. And we will spend a whole lot more talking about that as well. But the other thing that this graph shows is the performance of the general fund relative to our forecasts. And there we also have fundamentally good news. Again, comparing the 1.75 billion of actual revenues in 2021 to the forecast of 1.64 billion, the difference is 110 million. So there's 110 million of additional revenue that beyond the forecast that we are accounting for now at the end of 2021. We're going to spend the rest of this presentation talking about that and exploring it more, but some important caveats, one of which is that the biggest chunk of that is a difference in the payroll tax. So there's a notable actuals for the payroll tax are, and you'll see the slide in a moment, are $48 million more than our forecast. So a very significant addition to those revenues and performance above forecast. And those will be net revenues. How you choose to use them is a policy question. A big share of that 110 million increase, though, is also additional grant revenues that hadn't been anticipated and that have been booked into the system since. And the thing to know about those grant revenues is they are associated with additional expenditures. So they're not net new money that can be just used for anything. We still need to spend some time with the budget office to understand, which of those new revenues are associated with additional costs. So there's some additional work we have to do. As an example, again, we're reporting to you very soon after they've been final, and there's additional analysis. But overall, I estimate that in addition to the payroll tax increment of roughly 48 million, that there's 25 to 35 million, and we'll be able to document this as we go, of additional general fund revenue that is available now available for 2022. So again, that's a high level. We have seen we are recovering, and certainly again we'll discuss this in greater detail. Key revenue streams have recovered from pandemic. Some important ones have not, and the payroll tax has performed well above expectation. So I'm going to dig in a little bit. So this is a graph, again, I'm going to focus first on a comparison relative to forecast. I'll come back in a minute with a comparison relative to 2019. But this is a comparison relative to forecast for really the key revenue streams of the city. And what you'll see there is that, but for the payroll tax, we did pretty well on forecasts. So property tax difference is very small, and you'll see there property tax are very stable. Our state law dictates that we can only increase property taxes by 1% per year. So that part is very easy to forecast. We'll get 1% more than we did the year before. The key uncertainty in the forecast is new construction, because in addition to the 1% increase, the value of new construction is also added to our base. So this indicates that our forecasts for the value of new construction were slightly below what they ultimately turned out to be. For retail sales tax, the difference, again, it's a positive. The actuals are ahead of the forecast. The difference of about 2.6 million, less than 1% of the total, but still real money. Business and occupation, bigger difference there, about 5%, a little bit less, $14 million of additional revenue. But again, we'll talk more about whether or not we think that's going to persist or not. And then the big one, payroll tax. We had been forecasting revenues of about 200 million. They are at 248 million as we have finalizing at the end of February. And we'll actually, next slide is going to dive in a little bit more on that. And with that, I'm actually going to turn this over to Jan, who's been focused a good deal on looking at those revenues and understanding them better. Again, we'll be doing more work over the next month or more on this, but wanted to highlight a little bit about what we're seeing there, particularly given how strongly those revenues have performed. So Jan, if you could add some thoughts here.
Sure. So as Ben said, the revenue came in significantly higher than we expected. Main reason is that we did not really have a particularly good understanding of a tax base. Now we know a little bit better. We know that the majority, more than 80% of the revenue is coming from information services and professional and business services. With that said, there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding the base. and we don't really believe that 2021 is particularly representative of what's going to happen in the future, given that the employers are still determining what exactly their need for office space is, how their strategy regarding the return to work, regarding the hybrid work model, and all those details which are affecting the size of the tax base. There's still some ongoing process on the firm size, and because of that, we'll be learning over time more about the tax base, and there is still a lot more work to be done here.
Yeah, let me just say a little bit more about that. As we were developing our initial estimates, we had information from ESD, from the Employment Services Department at the state, about overall payrolls. But as you know, the payroll tax doesn't apply to overall payroll. It's targeted to higher salary positions, and that data were not available. So we were not guessing entirely in the dark, but it was difficult. We did not know which firms and what their level of payroll that would be subject to the tax. Just to emphasize Jan's point, we now have a year's worth of data. The challenge is 2021, which is likely to have been a very unusual year, because one of the factors, and actually Director Lee can say more about this as well, one of the factors in determining how much tax is paid is where workers are located. And so we're benefiting from the fact that employees who normally would have traveled outside the city to work, have been working from home, have been subject to the tax. The reverse has also been true, though. Workers who used to work in the city, who are now living perhaps in the suburbs, are not currently subject to the tax. And as we move into 2022 and beyond, that's going to sort in different ways, right? We anticipate that some folks will be returning to the office, to what degree and how much, again, it's going to be highly uncertain. So just to highlight that we didn't understand the tax base before, and although we have a year's worth of data, we don't necessarily understand what the future tax base will be, because the whole notion of work and where work happens is evolving as we speak.
Thank you for that explanation. I have a few more questions about that, but I do see Director Lee's hand is up. Director Lee?
Yes, I wanted to make sure that we understood that the tax was on the employer and it's not on the employees, although that distribution issue that Ben mentioned is determined by where an employer's people are actually sitting when they do their work, if they're office-based. And so, to his point, we expect a lot of adjustments from firms moving forward, because as they bring people back to work, that location of where they're working, where they have their employees working, will be a major change to the tax base. We don't know how much, but it's certainly something that our audit team is watching very, very closely. And we're engaging with taxpayers now to understand these phenomena as they've now filed their first full return for 2021. So this is an ever-evolving situation, and I still think there's a lot of volatility in this revenue stream, both upside risk and downside risk.
Okay, thanks. Let's pause here for a second, because this is big news. We previously had anticipated $200 million from Jumpstart for this first year of returns. Again, looking at the calendar year for 2021, we did get good news about 2 or 3 weeks ago that the revenue receipts at the time, thanks to FAS and Glenn Lee and your team for all of the work you've been doing to collect the revenue, but also the really stakeholder intensive work that you did to do the rulemaking that led to the implementation of Jumpstart. Thank you so much. But about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we heard that the revenue returns were $231 million. So today, we are seeing the final returns from the calendar year 2021, and the total investment that this payroll tax is making to our general fund contributions are $248.1 million. Very much appreciate that this is significant revenue that's coming at a time that's really needed for so many in our community, and has in the past helped us avoid cuts and austerity budgeting, I know that we are going to be looking jointly with the executive about how to appropriate not just the amount that was over the anticipated projections, but how we continue to deploy these revenues towards serving our community and the Jumpstart Spend Plan and our most vulnerable. So that's huge news. Thank you for sharing that here with us today, and really very much appreciate the companies as well who've been working with Finance and Administrative Services. They had offered some suggestions through rulemaking about how to apply the tax in a way that was implementable for their employees, and the council worked quickly to pass that. So I'm glad to see that the feedback had been provided to FAS, has been implemented in law, and is now resulting in folks being able to pay their portion of the employer assessment in a way that's, I think, been really streamlined by FAS. So thank you. Additionally, I think that the unknown questions or the unknown nature of where we're at with the global pandemic and the impact on our local economy and the ongoing effort to reopen our city has been outlined well by both John, Director Lee, and also Director Noble. And I also think, though, that some of the headlines recently are helpful for us to feel optimistic that the revenue base will continue to grow. I think that KUOW reported that in downtown Seattle alone, the search and desire to have office space in our downtown core was 34% higher than pre-pandemic levels. So I'm hopeful that, yes, we all will have a new normal as we return from the pandemic in terms of maybe what work from home life looks like and what travel may look like in the near term. But it does sound like our economic base is continuing to show positive signs of returning and booming. And I think this chart's helpful as well in showing for industries that are doing well and able to pay a healthy salary to employees, a small assessment across the board is really going to make a significant impact for our revenues and supporting the most vulnerable and investing in things like housing. So just wanted to pause to say thank you for sharing this news here today, and also really looking forward to working with the executive and the budget office as we seek to deploy these revenues. And as always, continuing to improve legislation as it has years of lived experience. We will continue to update and improve legislation as it goes forward as well. Thanks for letting me take a pause on this, and let me see if there's any other questions. Not hearing any, and always feel free to jump off mute if I don't see your hand. Go ahead, Director Noble.
Actually, I think I saw it.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Harrell had a comment.
I just had one question, and I know this is, first of all, fantastic news. So I'm gonna jump on with what Chair Mosqueda said. Fantastic news with the payroll tax, and in this case, Director Noble, I'm gonna just be happy that it was over forecast and not dwell on that. It's I know it was the first time, so being conservative, but I'll say that that's extremely positive news. I wanted to know if when people paid the first time, did employers note whether or not they were paying for a home office or a home office or an in-person, or did they just provide the address for the payment so that we can have some sort of determination as to whether or not how a shift might impact us? So if there are people who are working from home and they were paid for the home address, do we know how many were paid for what might be a retail address or an office address?
I'm actually going to defer that question to Director Lee if he's able to.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
We did not collect that specific information. Rather, we asked taxpayers to identify the share of their employment base that was over $150,000 a year that was working inside the city and not. And then we have rules that describe the kinds of things that we'll look at when we audit the firm audit firms to determine did they track this correctly. And so we have a variety of different methods that taxpayers have used to track where their people are when they're working. that fit the business model that those taxpayers have. And I'm sorry to be vague, but we found it very, very difficult to specify something so specific as you're describing because of the nature of different ways that people handle their payroll. So what our rules then had to step back a little bit and say, listen, we will, when we audit you, and we will, you need to be able to demonstrate fairly precise tracking ability of where people are working. And so to make the point simply, no, we didn't collect that up front. It was not feasible. But we do anticipate auditing that specific point as we start working with taxpayers.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
If there aren't further questions, just sensitive to time, I'm going to move forward. All right. So I promise you there's only one more table like this in the entire presentation. The general fund is obviously made up of a lot of revenue streams. It can be very complex. I did think it would be helpful to give you a sense of the relative contributions of the major different revenue streams, and also to highlight some that we hadn't otherwise touched on. So we've already talked about property tax. We've talked about retail sales tax. We've talked about the business and occupation tax. Included business license fees, it's not in the bigger scheme, it's not a big revenue source. These are the fees that firms pay for a business license. It's a flat amount, but it does vary with the size of and the revenues of the firm. So our forecast here, we're quite tight. You'll see that the comparison to 2019 on this particular revenue stream is somewhat interesting. Again, the next item is the big increase in payroll tax. The utility taxes, something we haven't talked about. They are collectively a very significant share. There's taxes on City Light, on SPU, and then also on private utilities. And you can see the four things called out there, collectively in excess of $200 million of revenue there. City Light has fallen short of forecast. We need to spend a little more time to understand what's driving that. In general, and you'll see this in another chart, City Light's revenues have suffered more under they've suffered under the pandemic. SPU has actually increased revenues. This having to do with what happens when people work from home versus working in offices and their demand on utilities. Parking meters, court fines, again, I've included here because they give you a good sense that those are both important revenue streams to the city, and you'll see more on this again when we compare to 2019. Admissions tax, up slightly relative to forecast, which is good news. And then a category, again, for the simplicity of presentation, if nothing else, which is kind of everything else. Most of what is in that category are grants and fees, and grants and fees can only be used for certain purposes, so they're less interesting than the other revenue streams. But again, we'll have additional detail for staff in our write-up, but did want to give you this overall picture. Next, we're going to shift and talk about comparing recent revenue performance to 2019. Again, with the goal of giving you a sense of how we've recovered or not from the pandemic, and which is not to say the pandemic is over, but again, to give you a sense of where revenues are. So the chart here is those four major revenue streams that we highlighted before, this time comparison to 2019. One thing to note is that property taxes have done quite well since 2019, and there actually is a really important point there. One qualification first, and that is much of that increase has to do with the countywide EMS levy, which goes into the general fund. There was a policy choice of a vote of the people countywide that increased those revenues between 2019 and 2021. So it's about a $40 million difference there, and about 16 million of it is just that. The rest of it, though, does highlight that our property tax revenues did not decrease at all because of the pandemic. The way the state law works, it both limits your growth to 1% of previous year, but also, if you choose, guarantees that you get that 1%. So even if the value of property is falling, our property tax revenues do not fall. They grow by 1% plus the value of new construction. So property tax has helped sustain us. Interestingly, it's a minor side note, the county is relatively more dependent on property tax, and that's one of the reasons that, in proportionate terms, they haven't had as difficult a budget time through the pandemic. You can see both sales and B&O are up marginally from their 2019 levels, but differences are small. And if you adjust for inflation, we're still not completely caught up. But again, in terms of these core revenues, we're doing well, and we'll have a couple slides exploring both. And then the payroll tax, obviously there wasn't one in 2019, and I'm emphasizing that point, that much of the incremental revenues in 2021 compared to 2019 are from the payroll tax. And let me point out something I noted in a bullet but didn't specifically say, is that for 2022, the payroll tax does not go into the general fund. So when we show you the graph that we'd started with that shows the general fund over time, for 2022, it's certain that it will decline because the payroll tax is being shifted to its own fund so it can be more clearly accounted for and there'll be ever more transparency. But it will have the impact of reducing the general fund revenues, not the city's overall revenues, but those to the general fund. So again, on our key revenue streams, caught up to 2019, a little bit above, not necessarily in inflation adjusted terms, but certainly not bad news. Jan has done some additional work kind of breaking down both the sales tax and the B&Os. So let me turn this over to him to talk more about the composition, about what's gone on in the different sectors between 2019 and 2021.
Okay. So in terms of the composition of sales tax revenue and how it evolved from 2019 to 2021, we have seen a noticeable decline in revenue coming from leisure and hospitality, and to some extent a decline in revenue coming from the construction sector. We'll address these 2 points a little bit later on when we are providing an update on the economic situation, but this will be a recurring theme that leisure and hospitality has still not recovered and has quite a way to go. Construction sector is best described as drifting sideways with potential quite significant downward risk. These two weaker sectors are, luckily for sales tax revenue, offset by quite significant gains in trade sector and to some extent professional and business services and information sector services performing quite well and offsetting the losses in leisure and hospitality and in construction sector. The overall spending patterns have not yet returned to the pre-pandemic patterns in terms of their composition on goods and services, in terms of how willing people are to travel. There is still a lot of uncertainty, and so that's another thing that we'll be tracking closely.
We can move to talk a little bit about business and occupation tax and some additional insights there as well. Again, major revenue stream, so worth understanding what's developed since 2019.
For business and occupation, to some extent, it's a similar sort of story as for sales tax. Leisure and hospitality underperforming significantly compared to 2019. Construction sector similarly did not bring as much revenue as in 2019, but thanks to the very strong growth in information sector, significant growth in financial activity sector, the overall B&O revenue was higher for 2021 compared to 2019. There have been some additional factors that increased the overall revenue more than expected, that are more technical in nature, but can be best described as larger than expected amount coming from non-current payments, which are not necessarily reflecting of the increases that can happen in 2022, things like receiving the annual payments that are only due on April already in January, and so some of the revenue that was previously expected to increase the revenue in 2022 already increasing the revenue in 2021. Unless there are some questions, I guess we can move forward.
Okay, so this is, again, I promise there's only two of these, so this is the other one. this is, again, the same chart as before, but this time the comparison is to 2019 rather than to the forecast. And it does give a chance to highlight some areas where we're still seeing significant disparities between what we are collecting in what we collected in 2021 and what we had collected in 2019. So again, property taxes were strong, sales and B&O are both up somewhat. Business license fees are down, and again, these are fees that are paid by firms, essentially a flat amount per year. The amount you pay depends on the size of the firm. The fact that it's declined suggests that we have fewer firms and some combination of the fewer firms and then they have less revenue. So just a point to highlight there. The payroll tax we noted, again, I'd mentioned that City Light revenues have declined relative to pre-pandemic levels. SPU is up. The private utilities for cable and telephone, so I'm moving my cursor here, this line item, you'll see there's a decline of about $4.5 million relative to 2019. Interestingly, we don't think that's pandemic related. There has been a steady decline in the use of cable and telephones. Nobody talks to each other anymore, and more people are pulling the plug. So that's been a long-term trend, but it has continued over the past couple of years. But the ones I wanted to highlight more than anything are the next two. So parking meters and court fines. And much of court fines is parking tickets. So what you're seeing there is almost in excess of $40 million of revenue in 2021, lower than in 2019, having everything to do with reduced demand for parking. So the city has a policy that parking meter rates are set to meet demand. So if you've been out in the street, parking meter rates are relatively lower now than they were previously because fewer people want to use the parking spots. And there are fewer, I personally think, because the rates are cheaper, there are fewer violations. It's only costs $1. It's very easy to sort of buy 2 hours worth and not risk getting a ticket versus at $4 an hour, those incentives are a little different. In any case, you can see significantly less revenue there than we were getting in 2019. And certainly the admissions tax, although we beat the forecast for 21, we're still down relative to 2019. So again, we just wanted you to see that although our core revenues of B&O and sales and property are strong, there are some significant revenue streams that contribute to the general fund that are still well below their 2019 levels. Again, I'm going to shift to talk about these four non-general fund revenues that I think are worth noting. The chart and the table here contain all of the information, and it's the same information in some sense. So the dollar values in the table match the graph. So you can see both the dollar difference in the height of the bars and the percentage difference for each of these revenue streams. So one thing to know is that real estate excise tax revenue has performed very well. This is a comparison. Let me start again. This is a comparison to our forecast. I'm going to show you the same information compared to 2019 as well. Again, those are really different ways to look at the same stuff. So relative to our forecast, REIT is well up about $10 million. So there's, again, available for potential appropriation going forward is an additional $10 million of real estate excise tax. Real estate excise tax has a set of prescribed uses. It's not a pure general fund revenue source, but it does support a variety of capital projects. We've been using some of it to support affordable housing as well. Again, this is good news. In defense of the forecast, there were several large property sales. It's a tax on real estate transactions. There were several large property sales late in the year, which drove this up. Commercial parking, again, we beat the forecast by a little bit. Same is true for soda tax. Not huge differences, but ones that matter, certainly. The one area among these selected ones that we underperformed to forecast was the short-term rental tax, sometimes referred to as the Airbnb tax, just to give you a reference point. And again, that's consistent with what we've seen around Omicron, particularly its impacts on the fourth quarter. And Jan has some very good graphics to highlight that. And I'm going to try to move quickly so we can get to those. This next set of it is a slide that does the same revenue streams, but compares them to 2019. So again, to see how we've evolved since then. Again, I think this is important to see and to understand. So REIT continues to do very well. We're actually above 2019. that's the bottom line is that real estate transactions have not really been affected negatively by COVID. Actually, the 2019 levels were perhaps a little bit lower than they might have been because there were some reasons to incentivize transactions. But overall, real estate markets doing well. Commercial parking, again, so this is another place where the demand for parking is seen. And again, a significant decline of 40% relative to 2019. So notable declines in revenue there. And similarly, again, I showed you that we beat our forecast for soda tax and short-term rental was under. But both soda tax and short-term rental are short of their 2019 levels by about 12%. So again, that hospitality and leisure sector, that theme that we've seen before, is underperforming relative to 2019 as well. So we've had some recovery relative to last year, relative to 2020, but still not all the way back. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Jan to give you kind of some more general observations about some key sectors, some key elements of the overall regional, national and regional economy.
All right, so a quick overview of where the economic climate in the national economy and the regional economy are. We don't have the March forecast from IHS that will start that will serve as a starting point to develop the regional economic forecast and the April revenue forecast. This is summarizing 2021. The broad picture, the broad summary is that there has been overall better than expected, higher than expected growth in income, in outlays and sales. Employment exceeded the expectations, not particularly dramatically, but overall these are sort of positive developments. The kind of negative, something that emerged as a negative and quite significant downside risk is rising inflation. The chart here shows the overall change in 2021, but does not really show that what happened is actually an increase, a dramatic increase in the inflation over the year, and the inflation, the last number released just recently is at 7%, so much higher than the overall annual average here. And with the war in Ukraine, there is an additional inflation pressure that will lead to an upwards revision in the inflation forecast that we have developed. Moving on to the regional summary.
And just real quick, a comment about that too. One thing to understand, and this certainly was seen at the state level, increased forecasts of inflation have the effect of increasing the dollar value of a revenue forecast, right? Because sales tax is collected on the nominal value. So as the price of goods goes up, your sales tax revenue goes up. The downside of that is that the services that the city provides, its own employment costs to its, labor costs for its own city employees are also likely to go up with that inflation. So you'll see the nominal value of revenues go up, but that isn't all necessarily a good news story, if you will. Never mind the potential impact it has on folks who are more income constrained.
Yeah, that's a good point. So for regional economy, we have similar developments as in the national one. Taxable sales employment above expectations, not particularly dramatically. The most dramatic difference is in terms of the inflation and the overall trend that it's been taking in the last couple of months, putting that upwards pressure on cities' expenditures and labor costs that can, with those revised forecasts, probably even worsen. If we can go to the next slide, please.
Yes.
This is a quick summary of how the labor market is recovering. We have seen a catching up process in the regional employment, so the gap between the job losses in the region and the job losses in the national economy is shrinking, somewhere around 2%. This chart does not really show the sectoral composition. There are bigger differences there. Manufacturing sector and leisure and hospitality are hit most in the regional economy, not so much in the national one. One more important thing that I want to stress here is that these are the regional employment developments. City level employment for 2021, data for that will only become available in summer. So we are not sure yet how the pandemic has affected the employment in different cities of the region and to what extent there might have been some shifts between, say, Seattle and East Side, and we'll get some more insight on that only later. Next slide, please.
Yep.
As a couple of final points, those struggling sectors, leisure and hospitality and construction to some extent, the trends since November are similar in the national and regional economy. The Delta and the Omicron wave after that have hit leisure and hospitality sector quite hard, stalled the recovery, and then in January we actually saw a significant retreat in terms of the hotel revenue per available room, in terms of the reservations in restaurants. Hotels and restaurants account for quite a significant part of sales tax revenue. They accounted for that pre-pandemic, and the return has not been by any sense complete, and still way to go. So that's a particular concern here. And if we can move on to the last slide, for construction sector, there is again a bit of a concern here in terms of the future development, because we have already seen kind of a sideways drifting in terms of revenue, shown here in that red line. The taxable sales in the constructions have been drifting sideways recently, with the potential to decline because they are closely linked to the value of permits issued, shown here in the blue line. And as you can see, the value of permits issued has dropped quite significantly. There has been an uptick recently because of some large multifamily projects that have started at the end of 2021, but overall we are still quite significantly below the 2019 values, in particularly for commercial sector, and the multifamily residential permits are making up some of those losses, but are not big enough to completely offset these losses.
Deputy Mayor Carol.
Yeah, I had one question on, particularly we've talked about construction a few times. Do we have any idea as to how the concrete strike and so kind of the slowing of some of this construction activity might impact us going forward? And that's a big question for now, but I think as we're getting into the forecast, I think it's been many months now, and so how that might back up, how the permitting might be ahead of the actual construction at this point, because there's going to be a backlog, and how that will impact us.
Right. Yes. So the concerns regarding permits are more of a longer term concerns, because they are leading the actual activity quite significantly. That strike is going to affect the revenue much earlier than these negative impacts of lower permits. But the strikes will certainly negatively affect the construction revenue in next coming months. What we'll be seeing in the distribution from the Department of Revenue in the coming months.
Yeah, so Deputy Mayor, I think that you flagged an issue that we are definitely watching, if you will, and have raised to us as well. So we're going to, again, we get monthly distributions of the sales tax revenue, and the way sales tax on construction works is that all the materials delivered to a job site are considered to have been purchased at the job site. So we get significant revenue, which is the good news. The bad news is, as you have noted, that there's less activity because of the strike. So we expect to see in the next couple distributions from the state some early evidence of that, and we'll have to incorporate that into our estimates. And again, construction contributes to both sales and B&O tax. So, and we've been watching it for a while, not because of the strike, but because of concerns about whether the demand changes in demand for office space could have impacts. our anticipation was that the large projects that had been underway would continue. Those that have been well into plan and finance might also come out of the ground, but there could be longer term impacts there. And we're starting, again, in the permit data suggests that that's the case. Fortunately, the residential side, particularly multifamily, has been strong, and that may help offset some of that. But again, we hope the strike will be transient, but I think it is reasonable to expect that it'll have a negative impact in 2022. And that is the end of our presentation, and fortunately, it is also the end of our perfect timing. So it's also the end of our allotted meeting time. So we're going to work on a written version of this, and then we are otherwise preparing. We'll begin to prepare the forecast to bring to you in April. So that is our near-term work. If there are any remaining questions, happy to take those. And otherwise, this is the presentation side. We're complete.
Okay, wonderful. I see a hand. We have Interim Director Panucci, and I just want to double check that Director Lee, your hand might be carryover from before. So just let me know if it is. It is. Director, okay, yep. Thanks, Director Lee. Interim Director Panucci, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Mosqueda. Thank you, Director Noble and Jan for the presentation. I just wanted to know, you may have said this, but in case it wasn't said, that in 2021, the Jumpstart Fund revenues are part of the general fund and contributing to support general fund expenditures. In future years, it goes into a separate fund with specific policies about how that's used. So it's just important to keep that into context as we continue ongoing budget discussions, that in future years, that portion of the general fund picture will look different without the general fund revenue. So just wanted to make sure that was on the record.
Yeah, no, again, I thank you for that, because I think it's in some ways the most material point in thinking about going forward. So that, yeah, so we showed you that chart that showed general fund revenues over time. There will be a decline in 2022 if for no other reason than the now $250 million that had been there will be moved into its own separate fund. We'll obviously be reporting to you on that fund and bringing you that information at the same time. But there are a different set of restrictions on the use of those monies, narrower set of uses compared to the general fund as a whole.
Thank you both for those points. I should have been clear in my comments as well about that. So thanks for lifting that up. Director Noble and team, I was going to ask, thank you for this preview, thank you for the summary of the information from 2021 and the actuals. As we look at the upcoming presentations for the revenue forecast in April, August, and November, I'm wondering if we might be able to, with enough lead time, include in your presentations a 10-year history of the actual collections compared to the projections. That way maybe we can see over time some of the variance. I think it might be helpful as we now have this body pulled together, and wanted to flag that with enough time to see if that's something you might be able to include.
I think that's a very interesting idea, and we've actually chatted with staff about that. I'm candidly a little worried about whether we'll be able to do it for this next April meeting, but I think it's very important that we give you some sense of the historic accuracy of these forecasts, because that's an important piece of the overall picture. So it's high on our list. I'm going to fall short of committing to it because I need to sort through what other elements that we have to pull together for next month. But absolutely something that we will work on.
Appreciate that. Director Dingley, please go ahead.
Thank you. I also was wondering if it's possible, Director Noble, to include, you had charts in the presentation that showed 2019 compared to 2021 actual. And I'm curious to know if you could, in your materials that you produce, also include what the projected amount for 2021 would have been but for the pandemic, to show what that sort of lost growth over time is. If you could include that, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back and look to see what, I think when we ever did a forecast other than the pandemic for 21. I just remember the timing of the biennial budgets and the like. But if we had that, I think that there was a point I made in passing in one of the bullets that we caught up to 2019, but we would have had a whole lot of growth otherwise. The demand for services may well have been increasing kind of over that time. So that's another good benchmark, and I'm less certain that we'll be able to do that as easily as the forecast to actuals
Can you ask
comparison. But,
Audium if she could just re-give me the number and the contact?
all right.
Just want to make sure folks have themselves on mute if you are not interested in speaking. Oh,
So we'll look at that
my
as well,
daughter in the
Director.
background. I'm going to mute her too.
We'll look at that, Director Dingley.
Thank you.
Great point, Director Dealing. Thanks so much for bringing that up. I would also underscore that request. And then you had some great information about 2019 levels and some of the revenue sources that haven't fully recovered. It doesn't have to be right now, but perhaps as you work on your final report, if you have any additional information about the variances and if you have thoughts about when folks come back to work in physical offices outside of their homes and lifting of the masks requirements and things like that, if we will be able to see some of those revenues recover. I mean, I guess I would argue that I don't actually think that we should be hoping that the parking and the parking ticket revenues recover, because I do hope more folks take public transit. And I think that, maybe we should try to promote and plan for that, but wondering if you have thoughts about whether or not there would be full recovery in some of those specific areas that we haven't seen fully recover from 2019.
Yeah, Jan and I are going to need to be working on this. I mean, this is one of the, I made this joke in previous presentations around this. So many situations where the right kind of doctor to do this work might be a medical one rather than an economist, because understanding what's going to happen to the behavior is going to be a key element of this. But I do think that as it would appear that we're actually seeing the loosening of the state level we are in the coming weeks, loosening of the pandemic restrictions, and every expectation that will help the hospitality, particularly most immediately probably the restaurants in the area, and then probably over a longer time frame travel and thus the hotels and the like. So that is an element that as we move forward, we'll want to try to incorporate as well.
Great. I'm looking for any additional hands, and I think Director Lee's hand is a hangover. Let's see. Do we have in there the 2021 collections and how those collections compare to the April 2021 forecast in terms of percentage and amount variance? Is that part of the request that Director Dingley made?
I think the Director Panucci's observation about and your request about looking at the variances to forecast over time, I think we'll get to that. I mean, we debated which forecast to base from it. One of the things I'm sensitive to as well is trying to give you too much complicated information in this kind of format. So, but those are other interesting. Understanding how the forecast evolves over the course of the year is important as well.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I'm not seeing any additional hands. Anybody feel free to jump in if you have any last questions. We have reached the end of our agenda, and I don't believe this needs a vote for accepting. I think this was for our information, and really appreciate the work that went into presenting the 2021 actuals. This is actually a really exciting presentation, and I hope that members of the viewing public via Seattle channel have also found this interesting. Looking forward to hearing from you all in April, and April 8th we will receive the actual revenues for 2020, the revised revenues for 2022, as well as initial forecast for 2023 and 2024. We are going to be working on making sure that there is the ability for comment at these meetings, and want to extend a huge thank you to the Seattle channel for being here and streaming this live. You got breaking news today, folks. And the future meetings will also have the opportunity to have the economic revenue presentations. Again, following the economic revenue presentations and any subsequent reports, we will repost those materials to the Finance and Housing Committee meetings, and community members are welcome to call in and provide public testimony, as always, to those committee meetings as well. If there's no objection, please join me in thanking the new Economic and Revenue Forecast Council team for all of the presentation today. I'm seeing lots of applauses. We're about 15 minutes over, so thanks for your generous time tonight, and thanks for the robust information, Jan and Director Noble. We look forward to seeing you all on April 8th. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.